Next week, actor Johnny Depp is going to be pitted against actress Amber Heard in a scandalous, wild, crazy trial that's going to be taking place in Fairfax County, Virginia. What's it all about? I'm Harvard lawyer Lee, and that's what I want to talk about today. I want to explain the case and what it's going to be about. Today, I'm going to be talking about Johnny Depp's case against Amber Heard. Tomorrow, I'm going to be talking about Amber's case against Johnny Depp. So today, let's start with the couple was married from 2015 with a divorce finalized in 2017. Their marriage was anything but smooth. It was rocky throughout, and then it ended bitterly, and it's still not really ended. The marriage may be over, but the dispute goes on. Just as a couple of examples, Johnny Depp says that Amber Heard threw a vodka bottle at him, and it shattered and ripped off the tip of his finger. Amber Heard says Johnny was in a rage and accidentally severed his own fingertip. Amber Heard says Depp hit her. Depp says Amber Heard hit him. Johnny Depp says he lost valuable work because she accused him of being a wife beater. She says he was a wife beater, and she's the one who lost work because he harnessed online trolls to try to destroy her reputation. Who's right? Next week's defamation case is going to be in Fairfax County, Virginia. Today we're only going to be talking about Depp's case against Heard. Now, she sued him back, and in my next video, I'm going to talk about what she alleges. But for today, this is just Depp's allegations against her. He has 3 counts in his complaint. The first, they're all 3 for defamation, and they're all 3 related. The first one is defamation for an op-ed piece she wrote in the Washington Post on December 18th, 2018. Count 1 is for the online edition of that op-ed piece. Then count 2 is for the print edition of that op-ed piece, and count 3 is for her republishing that when she tweeted out a link to it then on 12/19/2018. So here are the statements that Amber Heard made in the op-ed that Johnny Depp says were defamation against him. First of all, they call it the sexual violence op-ed, and that's critical because it's not just that she alleged violence against him or that she alleged hitting or anything like that. She alleged sexual violence. That's not really defined. We'll have to learn more as the trial progresses. But here are the statements in that op-ed piece that Johnny Depp's trial team takes issue with. I spoke up against sexual violence, this is Amber Heard, and faced our culture's wrath. That has to change. Next statement. Then 2 years ago, I became a public figure representing domestic abuse, and I felt the full force of our culture's wrath for women who speak out. Another statement. I had the rare vantage point of seeing in real time how institutions protect men accused of abuse. And then the last one. I write this as a woman who has to change my phone number weekly because I was getting death threats. For months, I rarely left my apartment, and when I did, I was pursued by camera drones and photographers on foot, on motorcycles, and in cars. Tabloid outlets that posted pictures of me spun them in a negative light. I felt as though I was on trial in the court of public opinion, and my life and livelihood depended on myriad judgments far beyond my control. So Johnny Depp is saying that those statements right there were defamation. What is defamation under the law? Well, under Virginia law, there are 3 elements to defamation. The first is publication. Whatever was said has to be published. In other words, if you type something that would be defamation, but you just leave it sitting on your computer, that doesn't count as defamation under the law. So it has to actually be published. Clearly, that happened here. If those statements are defamation, it was published. There's no question about, I would think, that element. Then the second issue is it has to be a publication of an actionable statement. What's that mean, actionable? Well, it means it has to be 2 things to be actionable. It has to be false and it has to be defamatory. So, for example, if I say something defamatory about somebody like, he's a murderer, but it's true, he really is a murderer, then that's not defamation because it was simply true. But if I say something, and if I say it has to be both of those. So if I say something that's false, but it's not defamatory, I say he's a really nice person, and he's not, that's also not defamation. That's not a great example since it wouldn't be defamatory. But that's my point, is that it has to be both false and defamatory. So what does that mean, defamatory? The phrase for that, the judge in the case, in the Depp case, uses the phrase that comes straight from some of the cases, sting to one's reputation. So would it make your reputation sting that somebody said that about you? And there's an old quote he used from 1904 that's, it sounds really old-fashioned, and I'll unpack it a little bit for you. Tends to injure one's reputation in the common estimation of mankind, to throw contumely shame or disgrace upon him, or which tends to hold him up to scorn, ridicule, or contempt, or which is calculated to render him infamous, odious, or ridiculous. It comes from a case called Moss v. Hardwood, 1904.
I am outraged. You threw contumely at me. Did you say I threw contumely at you? I deny that. I did not throw contumely at you. I don't even have any contumely.
So, contumely, what a crazy word, right? So what that means, contumely, is insolent or insulting language or treatment. So, nowadays, we think it's really strange to say to throw contumely at someone, but someday people will think it's really strange that we say to throw shade at someone. But they're essentially the same kind of general impression. So now the judge, and then the third thing that it has to be, the statement has to be published, it has to be an actionable statement, and the third thing is it has to be said with the requisite intent. It's not enough that the person talks about their personal opinion. That's not defamation. It has to actually be an intent to damage someone's reputation. Now, in this case, one of the twists of the case is that Amber Heard never actually used Johnny Depp's name in that op-ed in the Washington Post. But she did say enough identifying details that it's probably pretty clear to most people who she was talking about. For example, she said it was 2 years ago. She said it was abuse, and that was exactly the time frame when she was alleging abuse against Johnny Depp, and it was in all the papers. It's not as if it were a secret back then. So Depp also claimed that these statements were defamatory per se. What that means is just a little twist on it. It means it's a crime involving moral turpitude for which he could be indicted or punished if it were true. So in other words, moral turpitude, fancy legal way of saying wicked, deviant behavior. It's outside the societal norm. It would shock a community. So it has to, for something to be defamatory per se, it would have to be a crime and it would shock people. So he's saying it went that far. Now the trial of this case, both sides of it, his case against her and hers against him, starts on Monday. I doubt seriously they'll get to arguments on Monday. That wouldn't be typical. Typically they would do jury and things like that first, but we'll see. Then, so April 11th, that's the very first day that trial begins. What is he claiming or asking for? He's asked for $50 million in compensatory damages. He's asked for punitive damages of at least $350,000, and he's asked for her to pay his attorney's fees. So we are going to follow this trial next week, and I will report back to you on what happens. Thanks. If you enjoyed this content, please like the video, subscribe, and come back for more talk about the trial next week.